Yo, welcome to the channel. Today we have the start of a new project. So today's subject, or I guess this project's subject, will be Spawn. So the reason I chose Spawn was for two reasons. The main one is I own the McFarlane version of the Mortal Kombat Spawn, and I do think he is pretty cool. It's just that he doesn't do the character justice like I feel like he should do, you know? This figure isn't bad by any means. I like the articulation, the sculpt, and the detail on it are really nice. It's just the plastic cape, lack of accessories, and the overall scale kind of hold it back for me. So I figured I'll do a Mafex style since I love Mafex articulation, and it is a pretty easy thing to do. The second reason why is because on AliExpress you can buy this $30 cape. It's huge, it's wired, these flaps are even wired. This is a real chain, I believe. I don't know if it's metal, but I do know it's a real chain. The details on the skull are nice. So I figured since I can pretty much get the pieces for a Spawn easily, I might as well make one. So the base is this Mafex Venom, or fake Mafex Venom that I have. I already reviewed him earlier, so check out that video on the top right. But yeah, this is a pretty good Spawn base considering Spawn is already black. Venom is mostly black. The only issue would be the spider logo and the white on the hands, but that's pretty easy. So in terms of the process, the way I think I'm going to go about it is I'm going to heat up the torso, pop this off, sand the hell out of this so that the indents of the logo are completely gone. And then so I can paint the Spawn V that he does have. So it seems it reaches down all the way down to where his area would be, his groin. So I'll probably need to paint that. But point is, that's what I'll do. The only issue is which version of Spawn I'm going to choose. So the regular Spawn has the regular V with no extra color. But the classic Spawn has a V with some red on the sides. The only reason I would choose to do classic Spawn is because I can't get hold of some other pieces. So, his axis fell. So if you look at Spawn here, he has gauntlets, a big boot, this anklet thing, pouches, and obviously the cape. Now I've already acquired the cape. I have the belt and I have a new head sculpt coming in. The problem is I can't find 1/6 scale, not 1/6, 1/12 scale gauntlets, the boot, the pouches. What I could do is if I really am desperate, I could just peel them off of this one. And the problem is since this figure is 7 inches, it would not fit this figure at all. So let's see the big boot. It would fit him, but it'd be, actually, that's not that bad of a fit. Okay, so that could work if I really am that desperate. The pouches could also work. Okay, so I think it should work. It's just I really don't want to take this Spawn apart because right here, it's not like, no, it's not a hollow piece. This is actually how the arm looks like. So I'd have to cut off the arm, take out the wrist, and then I'd have to hollow out that so I can fit the arm in. It's just, this is a possibility if I do want to do it. I would also have to repaint it because this is orange and the Spawn I'm going for will be red. So yeah, that's the wrong figure. There are some minor issues that I can deal with in due time, but as of right now, the main issue is just getting the V on it and waiting for the other pieces to come in. So like I mentioned, I have a head sculpt coming in. I have the belt. I have more chains. The cape actually did come with this very nice chain. Oh, my sticky tack fell, I know that. But the cape actually did come with this really nice chain. It's actually really long. I think it's real metal. And then the ends of it are, they do have a opposable wire in them. I do like the detail. I like this little spike. On this side though, oh, never mind, I got it. I probably will insert a wire all the way through just so that it's fully wired. I could have some crazy poses with it. But that's already one chain down, excuse me. Now I'm just waiting for 2 more. So yeah, that's pretty much the project. That's a summary. Sorry if I chatted a lot or if I stuttered and repeated myself, but yeah. The main thing is, I just want to have a Mafex Spawn. I'm surprised Mafex hasn't made one. I guess McFarlane has given them the license. But I do think this is a really good opportunity to make something. Considering my Zombie Spider-Man actually came out really good. I do like how he ended up. The head sculpt and all the paint apps are nice. It's just, I did order the head like a week ago and it still hasn't gotten here, so we'll see when it gets here. The chains I bought today, the belt I bought yesterday, so we'll see it. But yeah, stay tuned for the next part. Catch you boys later. I forgot to show it off, my bad, but this is the fit test on the Venom. So this is made for a 7-inch McFarlane figure, but I do think with some futsing, you can obviously get it to work. What my cape does like to do is it'll like to like fall back and basically just be held on like this, which obviously doesn't look good. Let me put it at the camera. So my cape will sometimes fall back or sometimes it'll like encase his entire head, which, I mean, since this is made for a 7-inch figure, it obviously will look really, really big. And since Spawn already has a huge cape, it's going to look kind of silly. But I do think with the right amount of futzing, right amount of posing, this will look fantastic. And Spawn already has a big cape, so I really am not worried about it. So yeah, so this is the fit test, but yeah. Now we can move on to the next part. Like I mentioned earlier, basically what I needed to do was I needed to heat up the body so I can actually pop off the pieces without breaking anything. And then the rest of it would just be really, really heavy sanding. I think I ended up using, I don't remember the exact grit, but it was pretty coarse sandpaper because I really needed to get into the grooves so I can truly get that white marking out. I didn't get all of it. I still left some gaps in there, but luckily I painted over with the black. So I managed to cover all of it up. I also painted the back of the hands to cover that white spot. I didn't need to sand these hands. I did sand two hands, which was the claw hands. And it took a lot of work just for the paint to not really stick that well. I mean, it stuck well even without the sanding, so I really didn't need to do that. But yeah, I painted over the hands. Pretty much everything this figure came with was repainted black. The one thing I didn't account for was the fact that Venom's body was already a different shade of blue. It was like a blue-black shade, meaning I would have to repaint the entire body black. I did that anyway. I'm pretty sure I did most of it off camera. But I mean, yeah, painted the body black, sanded it down so the white doesn't show up anymore. And you can still see the indents of the logo, but it's not really that noticeable, at least not to me. So once I had the entire body painted black, it was time to start on the V. When looking at everything, this was probably the most tedious part, I'd say, because at least with the head sculpt and the belts and the gauntlets, those ones I could get over, you know, some paint splotches here and there. The problem is because of the V, it's such an iconic part of Spawn that if I mess this up, well, then I might have to reset the entire thing. So at first I tried freehanding it. Obviously, if that doesn't work, don't freehand, always plan ahead. I used tape as a border, just keeping me, you know, within that general shape. I tried keeping it as lined up as possible. What I ended up doing was I connected all three pieces of the torso to make a sort of outline as I painted the V, and it worked relatively well. I didn't need to end up cleaning up some of the paint, but overall I'm pretty happy with how this looked like. The V is accurate, the paint is surprisingly clean, and there are no bad splotches anywhere. I'd figured I'll mention it here. While I was painting the body, the head came in, and I'm going to be honest, it is way too big for the body, and it kind of looks like shit. It looks like Spawn is some big head baby. So what I ended up doing was I took the head off the McFarlane one, just as, at first it was going to be a placeholder until I found out the head, but I liked it too much to not want to use it, so I just kept it on it. And I show this later, but I did repaint the head to match the whites a bit more. But yeah, it kind of sucks that the new head doesn't fit the body, but I mean, at least it saved me a ton of work from having to paint the head and get the green eyes and all that stuff. And then here is the new Spawn compared to the original donor body, which is the Venom. You can see here what I was talking about earlier, how the blues and the blacks are completely different and why I needed to repaint Spawn. But so far it's looking great. Obviously I am missing a lot still, but this is a good kind of checkpoint. With the body underneath being pretty much done, at this point it's time to focus on the accessories that Spawn requires. So for those of you keeping a checklist, so far I have the cape and the chains. What I am still missing are the pouches, the belt, the gauntlets, the boots, and the like spiked ringlets, whatever you want to call them. Now I don't show it here, but I did find out that basically this Mortal Kombat Spawn has those pouches sculpted onto him, meaning the only way to get them off would be to basically just scrape the hell out of it or cut it off with some sort of super sharp knife, which is doing way too much. I have a plan. I haven't done it yet as of recording, but the plan is I will buy a cheap G.I. Joe, rip off the pouches, repaint them red, and then use this elastic band stuff I have so that I can just kind of wrap it around the leg without being too intrusive. Now, as of the gauntlets, I have bought them. They haven't arrived yet. I'm going to be gone for the next 2 weeks, so I don't know when they will arrive. So at this point, the only problem would be getting those spiked kind of ringlets. The day after I painted the Spawn is also the day this belt came in. So this was sculpted by Robert Hart over at Infinity Figures. They have an eBay shop. It's made out of this like softer resin, so it does stretch, but it is also a sturdy piece that will break. But point is, I'm excited to get this. I haven't painted it yet. I've been a bit busy, but it's, I mean, looking from the video, it pretty much completes a piece of the look. Obviously still missing literally everything else, but still it's one step closer. I also bought gauntlets from the same seller, so they're pretty good if you want to get anything 1/12 or even 1/6 related. I'll drop the link to their eBay shop down below. So to show these off in a different video, but I finally got the gauntlets in, and the only thing I'm gonna do is paint the white on it. Now I was gonna repaint the entire thing red, but I do think it's already a pretty decent shade of red. It is a little light, so maybe I'll give a light coat. But I don't know if I'll be able to replicate this really dark red, and if we look at the reference picture, it seems like the reds don't really match either way. But yeah, I'll see what I can do about that. I obviously need to paint this belt. That's a little more intricate. And I did get these 2 extra ones, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to replicate these little shin pads here by just removing the feet, removing the ball peg as well, and then inserting these up there. They already have like the general shape of like a knee pad. It'll fill out his legs more and it'll give me a use for these because I mean, there's just an extra pair of gauntlets I don't really need. But yeah, now it's just time to paint these extra 3D printed stuff and he should be done. He should be 99% done. The last thing I literally need are these pouches. The process here is pretty straightforward. Simply what I said I was going to do, give it a light coat of red, then I came over with the whites. And then just imagine this like 4 times to get the 2 shin guards and then the 2 gauntlets. So yeah, they came out looking pretty good. Honestly, I like them, but now we can move on to the belt. Honestly, the hardest part about the belt was trying to get the eyes black and then trying to paint the chain links. The way I did the belt was there's this middle section that's kind of in between the chains, so I painted that black. And then I gave the skull in the front a new coat of white just to match with Spawn's eye, shadow, whatever you want to call that. I did have to reset. I'm gonna be honest, I did have to reset like once or twice, and it's just because the colors kept mixing. It kept looking really sloppy, but in the end, I do think I did it right. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I did consider painting the eyes and the belt green, but it just didn't look right. The reference picture I was using didn't have that, but I do think would have added a nice pop of color, so maybe I'll try it out just to see what happens. But yeah, as of right now, the belt's done. And that's pretty much most of the figures. You need to get those pouches. And then here's just basically me putting the figure together. What I ended up doing with these shin pads was I needed to basically cut them in half so they could wrap around the leg. Turns out there wasn't enough material. The ball peg wasn't like getting in the way. It just physically couldn't fit over it. So I took a knife, a very dull one. Don't try this at home, you're gonna cut yourself. I cut myself a bunch of times. What I had to do was with a very dull knife just basically saw through the dense plastic behind it, and I just kind of cut this slit so that it could fit over it. What I probably will do is I might just kind of like put a little elastic band there so it kind of stretches, but at the same time the shin pads don't really like move. Like they'll slide down, but they don't fall off at all, so I might just leave it. But yeah, with this done, it's time to finally work on the pouches, and in the end I did have to sacrifice that McFarlane Spawn. I'm alright with it though. As of right now, the custom is finished. Like, I'm looking at it right now and it looks great, so I'm kind of glad I did that instead of going out of my way to make pouches or whatever. Here's some quick footage of it so far with the cape. As you can see, it looks great. Final thing is the pouches. Like I mentioned literally like 10 seconds ago, it's time for this McFarlane Spawn to get put on the chopping block. I used a knife that was like 1% sharper and I just heated up the plastic around it and then cut the band that held the pouches in place. Then I slowly cut each pouch off to get an individual one. I painted those red, put the little silver buckle, and then while I was waiting for those to dry, I basically grabbed the elastic I was talking about, wrapped it around the leg, measured it, cut it, did all that. Super glue that shut. Then once the pouches were ready, I carefully super glued each one on, and it made a pretty convincing like pouch effect. I do kind of wish I had colored the elastic, but at the same time, I don't really care, I'm gonna be honest. So yeah, that's pretty much the Spawn done. There's literally nothing else to do now. Obviously there's little things I could do here and there, but I think as of right now, this is a complete custom. I will probably make a showcase video where I just kind of show it off in like more detail. I'm just gonna pose it. I'm gonna be honest, I'm just gonna pose it on video. But yeah, thank you for those of you that watch this on TikTok. Thank you for those of you that are watching this on YouTube. And yeah, that's the entire custom. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know how it looks down below, and yeah, peace out. Yeah, this is probably my favorite custom I've made. I was gonna say this year, but I started this in like December of 2024. But yeah, this figure is fantastic, fantastically made. You know, I don't want to give myself too many props, but I really do think I did a good job. The paint on the gauntlets, these little spikes came out really well. The paint on the pouch came out well. I like how I did the black eyes. I think that actually does give it a good contrast. I was gonna give it green eyes, I didn't. Point is, this figure came out great. I will do more pictures. I'll do kind of a showcase video. As of right now, this custom is done. Thank you to those of you that have watched all the parts. If you're on YouTube, thank you for those of you that just sat and watched the video. So yeah, next project will be an Omni-Man commission. I'll probably won't post too much about it because I'm not going to keep it. But after that, I'll see what customs I'll do. Comment down below. Comment down suggestions or anything I should do. But yeah, Spawn is done. Enjoy some pics. Stay safe.